Wholeness, beautiful beings, welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida, and today's message is about dealing with, I would say, compassion fatigue. And currently, I'm getting at that point where I know that this shift I'm going through right now, since this summer is starting to escalate this month, and that's why I'm really wanting to focus in on doing shadow work during November, December specifically. Okay, so the title for today is True Healing Happens When Each Individual Carries Their Own Load. Listen, when I say compassion fatigue, especially for my empaths, or hypersensitive people, you get to a point where you burn out. You burn out from hearing yet another traumatic story. You burn out from your own trauma. When you burn out from your own trauma, I mean, when I say burnout, like you're just tired. You're tired of reminiscing. You're tired of the triggers. You're tired of the load. You're tired of the weight. You're tired of just the old stories, and you're ready to let go. And then you get bombarded or hit with multiple different external issues that don't belong to you. It can be a bit much. It can feel too much, right? Your true healing happens when each individual carries their own load, their own weight. And if you're finding that when you're doing your own internal work, you begin to see and you begin to develop stronger boundaries as far as discerning what load is yours and what load belongs to another person. And so when that happens, when you can differentiate between your shadow and someone else's shadow, and that actually pushes and projects their stuff back to them, that is not your responsibility to alchemize someone else's bull crap. No. I have lived that. Where I literally had an experience a few years ago where I took it upon myself to not only do my spiritual work, but also the spiritual work for another person. This was like an indirect, subconscious agreement that I was subjecting myself to that I had no business doing. Sometimes you just have to get your shit and get out and walk away from that connection, walk away from that friendship or that marriage or that relationship or that job or whatever environment that's putting that much emphasis on you, making you the sole accountable, responsible person to deal with their crap. You cannot do that. You may feel like you have the capacity to withhold someone's garbage, but you don't. You cannot be the landfill for someone else. And you also are dealing with your stuff, with your landfill, with your toxicity. There's a massive difference between holding space and then becoming a trash can, right? Being a trash can for someone, but then also holding space for another person, holding a space for another individual. You're grounded and integrated enough to handle what comes your way without fully embodying yourself into their projection, into their experience. Being the landfill, you're now the earth that slowly breaks down their gunk and their trash and makes it into something else. All the while, you're bypassing yourself. You're ignoring, neglecting your own needs, your own wounds, your own trauma that needs you desperately. And then you're wondering, why am I feeling so exhausted and I'm doing all of this spiritual work? Because you're doing the spiritual work for not yourself, the shadow, yourself, the self. You're doing it for someone else. You can't do that. Some people are aware that they're doing it. Most people are not. They're not aware. they're not aware of the extent of how deep it goes. They just think you're a naturally nurturing, caring, loving, kind person that just shows up for them and that's easily accessible and that's just there primarily just for them. I've had people tell me that you're here for me. You're only here for me. Your only reason to be here is for me. And I'm like, what about me? No, you're here for me. I'm like, but what about what? Are you going to show up for? No, you're showing up for me. I'm not showing up for you. And then you're like, oh, wow. Okay. All right, fine. I'm going to hold it down for you then. You go right ahead and projectile vomit your trash into my landfill and I'll take care of it, boss. And that's awful. Your shadow gets super pissed. It gets super pissed. And you know, when the shadow gets angry with you, your shadow, you suffer from such a fatigue. Like in my instance, my blood pressure got so bad. This was, I think, in January 2023. I started getting nosebleeds. And mind you, I'm aware of the predisposition or medical genetic disposition of, high blood pressure in African American lineage and bloodlines, and it's genetic. I understand that. That's to be expected almost. But I have a primarily very healthy diet. But when I'm under that such prolonged, consistent amount of psychological stress, which I was in a past connection, I mean, it was bad. And so my shadow was like, okay, we're going to create health crisis. And then this past summer with, you understand, I see the patterns. I see the patterns in myself. It's very crucial. The shadow will, when you start to become balanced within yourself, the shadow sees you as an ally now. Not best friends yet, but an ally. So when you become an ally, you start to develop deeper insight and you begin to recognize the pattern of yourself. And the shadow is like, okay, all right, so now you're beginning to see your role in this. Stop blaming other people and take accountability for your role in this game. It's not the other person. This is your role. What are you doing? How are you reacting? How are you interacting? What are your mistakes? How does it make you feel? Knowing these truths about yourself. This is what the shadow begins to share with you. And in return, you're listening, you're observing. It's best to keep track and write down and journal all of this. Because this is your grimoire. This is the real grimoire. Oftentimes people get, new agey, witchy communities. They're like, oh, make your grimoire. They beautify. It's all about the aesthetics. Certain candles and scents, and they make it very aesthetically pleasing and visually pleasing. It has nothing to freaking do with that. All you need is paper and a pen and a willingness to open. Maybe a candle to help with focus and meditation. And now close your mouth and observe. Watch yourself. Be consistent. Keep record. Right? It's no joke. You don't need all that pizzazz. You don't need to buy every single crystal in the book to do this work. You really don't. You don't need to buy every single incense and make your altar look like a freaking replica of some ancient Egyptian sacred space or something. You can do all that, and there's specific ways to build altars and all that, but you are the altar. You are the altar. You don't need to externalize. If that's what you choose to do, go ahead and do it. But you are that already. Most important thing I'm emphasizing is the listening and observing. There's power in silence. And yes, I'm using this platform to upload and I'm talking my head off. But I have seasons where I don't speak and I just sit for days on end. I do not speak. I don't interact with people. That's sacrifice. You see, in my personal experience, I find that everyone wants what they cannot have, they feel they cannot have. And the grass is always greener on the other side for so many people. Always greener on the other side. Married people want to be single. Single people want to be married. Broke people want all the money. People who want all the money just want a simple life. You see the systems, the old systems in place, they're causing people to go against each other and then go against themselves. You see? But when you make that solid choice to say, I choose myself today, I choose myself, you're choosing all of you. And when you choose all of you chooses you. And when you're working with all of yourself every single day, no matter if it's 5 minutes writing in a journal, no matter if it's 15 minutes sitting in silence, no matter if it's you're just reading one of your favorite books or calling that one mentor or going for a walk or eating a cooked, healthy meal for yourself, regardless, but you are meeting yourself every day. Every day yourself will meet with you. The most important relationship, the most important marriage anyone could ever have is with the self. That is not egocentric and it's not being self-centered. Oftentimes I see married folks lose themselves. They lose themselves into the connection. If anything, monogamous relationships are just you choose the person that you want to grow with and that wants to grow with you. You say, you're my person that I choose, that I want to grow with on this path that I'm on. And I want to grow with you on your path. I want us to grow together. That's how I see monogamy. That's how I see a long-term committed relationship. And you can have that. I mean, poly's very different type of growing. Very different. It's growth nonetheless, though, but very different. It's growing nonetheless, right? But very few people can have that courage and that bravery to use those type of connections as a way to do shadow work and to do inner work. They typically will get in monogamous relationships or polyamorous relationships or non-committal relationships, friends with benefits relationship, any kind, doesn't matter, to please the five senses. That's it. That is it. Chasing a nut. Like a crazy squirrel, just chasing a nut. And then when that's satisfied, they have the high, and then that high, they have that crash, and then that hunger in them, that void, that shadow realm is saying, I'm hungry, I need your attention. I'm hungry, I need your attention. And then the conscious self is like, oh, okay, I need attention. Let me get it over here. Let me get it over there. And the shadow is like, what is this? No, I don't, yeah, if you want, but I need you. You're like, no, I can't give you me right now. I can give you this person though. This person will meet our needs. And shadow is like, no, they're not going to meet this type of need. I need you, only you. And you fight that. And then your shadow indirectly meets the shadow of the other person. And oh, we all know what that looks like. We all know what that looks like. You have two unhealed, unintegrated shadows meeting each other. Fun times indeed. And then you can't tell whose trauma is what. You know, the whole trauma bonding thing. I love that psychology is beginning to become more mainstream, the focus, the focal point in the collective. You have a lot of uncertified, unlicensed people sharing their real life psychological experiences when it comes to the self, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to finding their place or purpose in the world. Oftentimes we just went by a book that they published, or some person with 2 doctorate degrees, you know, getting paid 6 figures that goes to that teaches at an Ivy League school. And we just were like, yep, whatever's in that book is right. But what makes the digital age so interesting is that you have so many human beings, millions of people at this point, sharing real life experiences that are literally in alignment of what I'm talking about right now. People are actually in live videos saying, this is what it feels like to take on, to finally realize that I've been taking on someone else's shadow. Oh, or I finally have gathered up enough courage to meet my own shadow and to work on my own load, to carry my own weight, finally, after decades. You have very young people to very old people, established people, poor people, wealthy people, people leaving 6-figure jobs. You know, there's this Asian guy, I think, I can't think if he's Chinese or South Korean, but he was a surgeon and now he makes content and he quit that job. He quit, I think it's Gooby and Doobie or something like that. If I remember, I'll put his link down below. And he also makes similar videos of just talking about humanness, psychology, society. This guy was a doctor, okay? Not just any doctor. I think it was some neurosurgeon or something crazy like that. And he left it. He left it all behind. And he goes on these walk and talks in nature, and he takes his dog with him. And I mean, just, it's so fascinating. I used to be very anti-digital world, and then I find myself creating content like this. I'm using this as a tool, you know? So yeah, this is deep stuff. So my question to you is, whose load are you carrying? Are you tired of carrying it? Are you ready to let this load that doesn't belong to you go? Can you identify your own now? And are you ready to let the load that you've been carrying that's yours, are you ready to alchemize it into light? And that's where I'll end this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. May this message find you well and whole. And I look forward to hear from you and your engagement with this topic for November and December. Thank you so much. I will see you all soon. Goodbye.